Coming up on the live and interactive ACSA Legislative Lunch Break, Michael and I will get you all of your latest news and information from the state capitol and CDE with an in-depth analysis on how it impacts you. Plus, today we are talking about learning loss, a valuable program that can help you and your school district. We've got an expert in the field. Plus, we've got a California superintendent to talk about how this program helped his students.
We're so glad you're in the room where it happens. The ACSA Legislative Lunch Break starts now.
And it's a couple of minutes after 1 o'clock. We welcome you on a Wednesday to the live and interactive ACSA Legislative Lunch Break. I'm Naj Ali Khan, ACSA's Senior Director of Marketing and Communications. Michael Kelly with us, ACSA's new media manager. Second week in a row, Michael, that you're with us because Edgar once again has decided Wednesday is the perfect day for him to be traveling.
We're trying so hard to get him back in this chair. For all of you watching, I can promise you I'm not here much longer, at least in the anchor chair. We're eager to get Naj and Edgar back together again, and it comes your way next week, in fact. So we're looking forward to that. Edgar in Germany last week, if you're watching the show, and now in San Diego for an ACSA conference. So he is working after all.
He is working, and Southern California, his home growing up. So I know that he never has a problem flying into Southern California. We're actually going to hear from Edgar in just a moment. And then again, we are talking about learning loss today, a valuable program, and the voice of a school district that is benefiting from this program. We'll talk about that in just a second. Want to say hello to some of our viewers today. Neri Pais first on the chat today. Neri, always good to see you. Gloria McKerney, Scott Borba with us as well. So good to have all of you again. Go ahead and jump into that chat. Say hello and let us know where you're watching from today. Let's get to some news headlines right off the top. Last week's show, we talked about, Michael, the bills that were moving over to the governor's desk, education bills specifically. And now the governor has signed several bills. A lot of them actually focused on immigration and protecting students on campus. Assembly Bill 49, that is the California Safe Havens Act. It prohibits schools from allowing immigration and customs enforcement officers on campus without a warrant. Now, key to this has an urgency clause, so it takes effect immediately. You don't have to wait until January 1 on this. So that's Assembly Bill 49. Senate Bill 98, we also talked a lot about this one last week, requires schools to send notifications to their parents, guardians, and staff if ICE is on campus and prohibits them from entering specific areas without a judicial warrant or court order. Key to this one is that this plan to send notifications, deadline is March 1st. So that one is coming, and there's community involvement that is important for that bill. So be on the lookout for that one. The deadline for that, March 1. There's also Senate Bill 627, which prohibits ICE officers from wearing masks. Senate Bill 805, which requires that law enforcement officers identify themselves. And Senate Bill 81, which prohibits ICE officers from going into restricted areas of healthcare complexes without a court order or judicial warrant. Now, we mentioned Michael, that Edgar was in Southern California right now at our ACSA Personnel Institute, but he wanted to talk a little bit about Assembly Bill 49 and some of these education-related bills, ICE bills, that the governor has signed.
Given all of the concerns that we've heard from folks in the community, from family members, from educators, given all the federal policy changes, I think we're really happy that the governor and the state are prioritizing against student safety and family safety, really getting to this piece to the extent that the state government can try to guarantee this, is try to ensure that schools are a safe spot, to making sure we are putting all of those protections, regardless of immigration status, that families and students feel that when they are attending schools here in California, their one priority is that we're going to concentrate on learning.
Also want to tell you that next week we are planning planning, as in we've put out those feelers to our team of legal experts to discuss the implications of some of these ICE-related bills on your schools, on your school districts, plus a little bit of information on what the federal government can do to push back on what some of Governor Newsom has just signed off on. So fingers crossed that's on next week's edition of the ACSA Legislative Lunch Break. Also want to bring your attention to a story that was in EdSource today about the impact of federal funding cuts on student mental health services. And we'll go ahead and put the link to this story in our chat. But as you may remember, back in April, the U.S. Department of Education announced that it would cancel nearly $170 million that was appropriated for mental health services in California because, according to the federal government, they didn't align with the president's policy. So on January 1, those funds will be gone, and the loss of this funding will directly impact students, especially those in our rural communities. And the impact on rural communities is a focus of this story. So we've got a link to that story. We'll put that in the comment section. Invite you to take a look at that story after our broadcast today. Michael?
And while schools are grappling with the impact of those federal cuts, they're also being asked to plan ahead, and that goes even into the summer, which leads us to our topic today. Joining us now on the ACSA Legislative Lunch Break are Dr. Patrick Keeley, Superintendent for Mountain Empire Unified, and Nancy Gannon, Director of the District Summer Learning Network. Good to have both of you on the show here today. Nancy, let's start with you. We are in the month of September, and yet here we are. I thought we had Patrick and Nancy. Now we do.
There we go.
Hey,
there we go.
See how
little technical issue.
At its finest, isn't it? Nancy, let's start with you. School started. We are well into the school year here in California, across the country. So why is now the time to start having these conversations with districts around summer learning?
Yeah, when I was a principal, I didn't think about summer learning until about May, when I was going through my roster, figuring out who did not meet the performance measures during the year and needed extra help. And that is not the way to do a strong implementation of summer. And what we've since learned from the research and from practice is that summer is this huge resource that's left on the table in most districts, where summer can be a valuable piece of moving a district's goals forward. And that can only happen if they're really thinking holistically about the whole year and what part summer can play and planning from September.
Patrick, let me ask about when you first heard about this opportunity, what made you feel like this was the right opportunity for your school district, the right fit for your school district?
In terms of the Summer Learning Network?
Sure.
Yeah. So, in terms of that, I think it was important to form a network, not just locally, but nationally, and gather the brain power from a number of people from throughout the country. The support that we have and the research behind it, I think it really helped us in our planning and kind of ideating around some things that we can do, especially in a rural area. We don't have, we're close to San Diego, but we're also far enough from San Diego to make some things prohibitive. So to really network across the country with other rurals and different states, I think it was pretty important. And then the mentoring part and the ongoing mentoring part, I think, has been helpful as well.
Nancy, for districts who may not be familiar, what does the District Summer Learning Network offer? How does it support schools at the end of the day?
So the District Summer Learning Network is funded through the Wallace Foundation, which means districts can join for free. If they joined, they can come. There's a series of 5 webinars over the course of the fall, winter, and spring, where they can hear about the most current research in summer, how to improve their summer learning network. And most importantly, perhaps, they can hear from other districts like Patrick's or 140 districts across the country that have participated in this to see how they're solving common problems or unique problems that are, faced in rural areas or faced in urban areas. So there's a lot of time to hear from other districts and to talk to them and share ideas.
Patrick, we just heard Nancy refer to solving problems, right? And so I wonder what challenges in your district were you trying to solve when you joined, and how did this network help fix some of those problems, or at least address some of those challenges?
So I think at first, when we were presented with the opportunity with the ELOP funding here, I was a little bit worried about it, and how are we going to pull this off when we have limited staff? We're coming out of COVID. There's a burnout rate with people, and all I kept hearing was partner with the YMCA, partner with the Boys and Girls Club, send your kids to this camp. Well, being one of the furthest reaching parts of San Diego County, I always tell people we're close enough and we're far enough from San Diego in terms of we're close enough that there's access to a larger city, but we're also far enough that people don't necessarily always want to come out and service our district. And so, in working through that, we wound up kind of trying to figure out, one of the things I often say is the solution is in the mountain. Let's figure out what we can do here in our district with our people. And so kind of working through that process, linking up with the DSLN, it really helped us over time develop a structure that we can be proud of, and a program that creates a lot of opportunities for the kids in our school district.
Nancy, we talk a lot in California education about learning loss, and we know that it's not just an issue here in the state, but we know it's an issue nationwide. What role do you see the District Summer Learning Network playing into helping learning loss and really helping students at the end of the day?
Yeah, some of the obvious places are boosting math and boosting literacy. For some kids, they just need more time at bat, right? But some of the less obvious ones are, if you build a summer program that is just math, just literacy, then kids are going to vote with their feet, and parents are as well. Parents want kids to have a break, kids to have some fun. Maybe their kids are struggling with their well-being. So embedding that math and literacy in a bigger program where there's enrichment, where there's things that really excite kids, and not that math is not exciting, because I do love math, but just to be clear, that it's a holistic approach to it, and that kids have fun in the way I want my kid to have fun at her summer camp during the month of July. So there's that piece. And there's also thinking about reconnecting kids. There's been a crisis in attendance that we don't talk enough about since the pandemic, and having that time where oftentimes teachers have fewer kids to think about and can really build those connections, especially with our older kids. That's really important too.
Nancy, did I hear that correctly? You were talking about math being fun. Is that what you said?
I love math, man. I love it.
I'm just going to let that one sit for math being fun. Nancy Gannon is Senior Advisor of FHI 360, and Dr. Patrick Healy, Superintendent, Mountain Empire Unified School District. Patrick, when I know you're in the San Diego area, and I guess every time I think of the San Diego area, I always think about the big school districts, not just San Diego Unified, but then San Marcos and Oceanside and Escondido. That's always the picture that comes in my head. But from a rural district perspective, how did being part of this network shape your approach to designing programs for the students?
Well, as I said earlier, I think, the solution lies from within oftentimes, and competing with the larger districts for the resources was kind of challenging. So in some of the conversations with the DSLN and things like that along the way, we were able to tease out some ideas, build on ideas, create our own ideas from the conversation. And what it has done is allowed for us to not only utilize our local area, whether it's the local county parks, where we've realized that even though we're a pretty vast and rural area, a lot of our students hadn't even been to the local county parks where we are. So we've been planning events there with outdoor activities and things like that, as well as what can you build with your staff, and what leadership structures can you put in? So all of that has come through those conversations and that mentoring.
Nancy, from your perspective, what kind of long-term impact can high-quality summer learning have on schools, on communities, and most importantly, on students?
You know, the idea of getting kids back on track is so often it's about testing and test scores, but we know that the importance of being able to read fluently at a young age it shapes the kid's life. So a lot of our districts that are working on early literacy and making sure that they use summer strategically to make sure all kids are reading by 3rd grade, that's a really amazing gift you can give to a kid that affects them the rest of their life. But also, I think the Mountain Empire example is a really great one, because Patrick and his team have really thought about building capacity during the summer across their district and making sure that adult learning is part of the picture, and that building leadership, all of those things, those build long-term sustainable practices across the district.
Patrick, we know from this conversation, but these conversations happen even off camera, that it's never too early to start thinking about summer learning. But as a whole, when we think about learning loss, that's part of the equation here. So I just wonder, how did participating in the networking change the way your district did for planning and delivering summer learning? Because both are so intertwined, the planning and then the delivering piece.
Yeah. So I think that first of all, context matters in terms of learning. If you're just going into, as Nancy had talked about, when you're just concentrating on just the curricular area without adding the context, I think that's a really important thing to consider in the summer learning. In terms of our planning, because we not only do summer learning, the expanded learning opportunities allows for those 30 days. So we do a fall break camp, we do a spring break camp. In fact, this last year we were impacted tremendously by power safety shutoffs, and because we had so many things in place, we worked with SDG&E to get whole site generators for our high school, and allowed for parents during those power shutoffs, which lasted for days, to come. And we did an ad hoc camp in the middle of January called Power Up Camp to provide for people. But in terms of that planning, we identify a site leader at every single school site, and throughout the year, there's a cadence of meetings and planning cycles that we, kind of start to, whether it's bringing in some resources, but it's also picking the theme for the summer, picking the schedule, working on the schedule, working on the hiring, what are the training dates, what are the goals for it, and things like that. And what we've seen is our data is not fully up to date for this last summer yet, but last summer 80% of the students at the elementary level either maintained or improved on their reading scores in their beginning of the year assessments.
That's an impressive number. Nancy,
just say 98% of districts that were in the District Summer Learning Network reported statistics around improvements. So exciting.
And on that note, Nancy, 140 districts across the country. I wonder, what are some of the most effective strategies you've seen districts use with this network? I
think a couple things come to mind. Partnerships, building rich partnerships like Pat just spoke of, with local places that can enhance your work, especially if there are municipal programs that are running or other kinds of community-based programs that are running in competition with you. Is there a way to bring your resources and their resources together so you're all serving the same kids effectively? That's been one really great strategy. Another one is blending the academics and making sure you have high quality academics in conjunction with enrichment, so that kids, not in one class, you don't have to make the math class also be the dance class, but making sure that kids have exposure to both in a day. And I think the third thing I would say is really thinking about your communication and how you're talking to parents about this, how you're marketing it, that it's not something for kids that didn't do well or that messed up during the school year, but this is really an opportunity that the school district is providing for kids that want to get ahead for next year and that want to have exposure to dance and art and hiking in the mountain or whatever it is that they can have. That really flips the script of what we all thought of as summer school when we were kids.
District Summer Learning Network now partnering with AASA, so incredible work being done there. Patrick, for a district who's maybe going, I like what I'm hearing. What's the pitch that you would make to them to help them if they're looking to expand their summer learning opportunities?
Well, I think at first, in terms of the DSLN, we're smarter together. So the more people you can get in the room to talk about your ideas and to build on the better, and as far as the summer learning and this potential, and I hope that it continues, the funding continues, because for students in rural areas who don't always have access to certain things. So for example, drowning rates for children in rural areas are higher. And so one of the things that we do is we do take kids 45 minutes out of our district to a local YMCA and do swim lessons. So, there's the practical and the day-to-day things, but there's also just what opportunities exist for these kids that you can help bridge that gap. And, as I said earlier, that context matters. So in your learning, your context matters in what you're experiencing, and being close enough for us. Being close enough to a large city like San Diego, we can from time to time get some field trips in and get some kids down the hill to experience the greater world around them. But also in a rural area that's spread apart, it brings the kids together as part of a larger community instead of isolated in their small towns.
Oh, no, I was just muted again.
There we go. All right.
Hey, look at that.
How about that? It's only taken 5 years and I'm still messing that part up. We have the District Summer Learning Network website. There's a link to it in our comment section. So go ahead and click that information. Such a valuable resource. Nancy Gannon, Senior Advisor, FHI 360, and Dr. Patrick Healy, Superintendent, Mountain Empire Unified School District. Been great having both of you here on the ACSA Legislative Lunch Break. We look forward to having you back soon.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for the time.
I want to point something out, Michael, if you want to come back here on screen, because we may want to test something here. First off, as you know, I try and keep an eye on what is happening over in our chat and whether we have some new members. So I see a name that I don't necessarily recognize, and that is Nia Rashidi. I know I'm going to mispronounce that last name. Alakan is hard enough. But I don't think I've seen Nia's name in there before. So Nia, welcome if this is the first time that you're with us here on the lunch break. And then one of our great members, Dr. Amy Slavinsky, who joins us here often, has put in the chat, just joining en route from San Diego to Sacramento. Is this that opportunity, Michael, that maybe she is on a Southwest flight and using the Wi-Fi to watch? And maybe this is that moment that if she is, just type into the chat and let us know, because I'm always interested to see if people can actually pick up the show on Southwest Wi-Fi.
Naj will not rest until the ACSA Legislative Lunch Break is somehow sponsored by Southwest
Airlines. I got to start getting some. I got to get more freebies when it
comes.
Hold
up. Amy's saying yes, she is on a flight.
Is she?
Southwest. God bless you. This is impressive work.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Amy. You have
a great comment that I want to point out from Barbara Woodard.
Yes.
And it's a long one, but she talks about it. It's great with 80% on or making growth and reading. We need to figure out how to take those high quality academics that we're using during interims and implement it during the school year as well. We've seen partnerships with fall breaks, winter breaks, but data still continues to show decline. It's small numbers. It's the teachers who love their job. That's why we see the best of the best in this interim. That's nice to hear, and an important note to point out. And then, of course, Dr. Daryl Camp joining the show as well, and welcoming Nia as well. So ACSA president comes with many hats, and one of them is welcoming members on the
certainly does.
lunch break.
He is the lunch break welcome wagon for us. Folks, I do want to tell you about ACSA Leadership Summit. It is coming your way in November. It is in San Francisco. This is ACSA's premier event for the entire world of public education. Take a look. ACSA Leadership Summit, November 6th through 8th in San Francisco. Want to tell you about a new team rate, which we have just introduced. 5 or more members of your school district team, whether it's your school team, your school district team, get a big discount if you sign up and register for the ACSA Leadership Summit. So that is November 6th through 8th in San Francisco. For more information and registration, go to ACSA.org/professional-learning. Folks, if you'd like what you have seen here on the ACSA Legislative Lunch Break, we invite you to subscribe to us on YouTube or like us on Facebook. We are at over 4,000 subscribers now on YouTube, which is great.
Take that, LAUSD. Oh,
that's right. Not that we're competing against them or anything like that. If you subscribe to us on YouTube, you'll get instant alerts when we are about to come on the air with breaking news. And then, of course, a reminder about our regularly scheduled show on Wednesdays. Got to turn on your notifications for those. And, of course, if you have a great story happening in your school district, we want to tell your story. Go ahead and send your news releases, your photos, your talking points to our EdCal editor, Michelle Carl, at mcarl@axa.org. All right. Well, since Michael, we've tested Dr. Slavinsky's signal from 30,000 feet. That only means that next time we have to try and get Edgar to be live from a Southwest flight.
That's ambitious. And as the executive producer of this show, I would tell you I'm not in favor of it. But,
right.
You know what? If Southwest gives us miles or at least sponsors us, we can have that conversation.
Why not? Why not? Come on, Southwest. You can make this happen. Folks, thanks so much for joining us here on the ACSA Legislative Lunch Break. A reminder, we are live and interactive Wednesdays here, 1 p.m. ACSA Facebook, ACSA YouTube, and ACSA LinkedIn. Have a great rest of the day and rest of the week. We will see you right back here next week, 1 p.m. for the next edition of the ACSA Legislative Lunch Break.